Hey, it's Troy and Tanner from One for All Fitness, and today we're going to talk about body measurements, why it's important to take them, how to take them, and some reasonable goals to shoot for. It's not something to get too hung up on, but we're very numbers-driven guys. We like to measure how we are progressing, and we like to have goals to shoot for that are numerical, smart goals, achievable, specific, measurable, all that jazz. So we'll get right into it. The first thing we're going to look at is waist, height, and weight, and also your waist to height ratio. We took all my measurements today. As soon as I woke up, after I used the bathroom, I hadn't eaten anything yet, and we do this about once a month on the same day, each day of the month. So I came up with a 32.75 waist measurement. That's about half an inch less than the last time I measured, so definitely some tangible progress there, which I'm happy about, and I track that on my phone. My height was the same as it always is, which is 5'10" 1/4. Unfortunately, I did not grow this time. But when we look at the waist to height ratio, a good healthy mark to shoot for is 0.5. I came in at 0.466, which I'm happy about. And my goal is to stay between the 0.45 to 0.47 range, which is helpful in terms of going for the golden ratio, which Troy will dive into next. I weighed 178, and we put this one at the bottom because so many people focus in on how much they weigh, and it is helpful to be in a certain range of weights, but it's actually more important just to look at your shape and know that even if I weigh a few pounds plus or minus where this is, I could still measure the same amount. If there's one takeaway from a health perspective, just have your waist be less than half of what your height is. So that's a good, general rule of thumb. In terms of the, talking about aesthetics, for men, we like to measure shoulder circumference, which here's a clip showing what that looks like. Today, Tanner measured at 51 inches on his shoulders. So you measure the shoulder circumference and then you divide that by your waist circumference, which we already got before, and get the ratio here, which is 1.56 for Tanner. In terms of like good goals to shoot for, it's the initial goal I like our clients to shoot for is 1.5. Anything over that, you're gonna be in pretty good shape right there and have a nice little offset from shoulders to waist, that little V-taper look, superhero, Greek statue, whatever you wanna call it. And then a lifetime goal is to actually hit what we call the golden ratio, which is 1.618 is the actual number, but that's a recurring number in nature, like seashells, butterfly wings, rose petals, waves, all kinds of things in nature. It's just an aesthetically pleasing shape, ratio to shoot for, and a lot of architects even use it when they design buildings. So it's an aesthetically pleasing look, and you may never hit it in your lifetime, but the closer we can get to that shoulder to waist ratio being 1.618, you're gonna look pretty darn good with or without clothes. And you may see some enhanced bodybuilders go beyond that number, and it's important to recognize that 1.618 may be achievable naturally, it may not be achievable naturally, but if you go beyond it, it's the same effect as if you were short of it. It's just not quite considered ideal aesthetically from a just visual perspective. And you would start to look like a cartoon, like those Superman, Batman cartoons where you just have crazy action figure proportions, which, some people go for that, but we're just promoting a healthier type of look, natural look. So for girls, instead of shoulder to waist ratio, we like to look at waist to hip ratio, which kind of defines that hourglass type shape that's, both healthy and looks good. So we took Tanner's hip measurement. Obviously he's not a girl, but just to show, here's what that looks like. He measured in at 40 inches on the hips, so we did the waist divided by the hip and got his ratio to be 0.82, which is fine for a guy. For girls, we like to shoot for that initial waist to hip ratio being 0.75, so 75%. Your waist would be 75% of your hip measurement. And then the ideal would be the Venus ratio, which is kind of the girls' equivalent to the golden ratio for men. And that's your waist being 70% of your hips. So with both the shoulder and the hip measurement, that we try to determine through building strength in the compound movements. For hips, we're talking about squats, RDLs, and then for shoulders, we're talking about pushes and pulls, big compound exercises that build the majority of the mass that you're trying to get in your body. And then the waist typically comes from good conditioning and a good diet. So that's how you can achieve those metrics that we shoot for. There's some ideals to shoot for, maybe lifetime goals, then there's some basic goals, and then there's your basic health markers too. But in general, we just want to present to you how we view measuring your physique, your shape, your health, and what we do with our clients every day. So
progress is measured month to month, but you may have some months where you just maintain, and that's perfectly okay. You have the ability to make adjustments month over month based on taking these and seeing numerically, are you better than what you were before in relation to your goals? And these are not numbers you live or die by. They're just helpful to measure which direction you're headed in. If you have any questions, send us a DM on Instagram.